What is going on, guys? This is my third time recording, and it's funny because the first time I forgot to hit the record button. Then the second time I hit the record button, but I didn't present my screen so nobody could see what I was looking at. So this is my third time. I'm about to I'm tearing up out of pain. But anyways, welcome to the Henny Baby Crypto channel. It is Henny Baby, your host, like Maxwell Smooth. Shout out to Maxwell Smooth. He got me into this whole thing too. But what is up, Titan X community? Let's go through it. Hyper, Dragon X, Hydra, Flux, Inferno, freaking meme coins. Helios. I'm sorry if I didn't even mention your protocol. There's just so many. So I don't even know what to like. I don't know how long these intros are going to be. I think I'm just going to have to keep it as Titan X community. What is up, Titan X community? It is Henny Baby. And today first off, I wanted to thank everyone for the engagement from the Hydra video. The Hydra video did absolutely like all my expectations were passed. I'm going to keep saying this till the end. I'm a small fry in this ecosystem. Definitely by far not the most experienced. Definitely by far I haven't been doing this as long as some people. I've only been in it for 7 years. Only a certain fraction of those years were on the right track before I was listening to douchebags that didn't know jack shit about true DeFi. Okay. So in true DeFi, I'm still somewhat of a newbie, if you want to call it that, in comparison to others. But I do know a thing or two. So I just wanted to say thank you, because that sort of engagement to just a regular guy that just decided to pick up a camera in crypto is absolutely amazing. It definitely 100% motivated me to keep going. So today I wanted to make a hyper video. Okay. Hyper is very slept on, in my opinion. If I'm going to be honest, I think Hyper is probably like my second. It's my second biggest holding within the Titan X ecosystem, including Titan X and Dragon X. Okay, so that's just like a little signal of what I personally feel about it. But that's what I feel. I'm not a financial advisor. You guys are adults. You got to do your own thing. But I just want you guys to know that I am mega bullish on this protocol. And why? Well, Hyper was essentially one of the first protocols to ever launch on top of Titan X. Well, it was. It definitely was. It was in the first four, I believe. But it was the first protocol built by the founder himself, Jake Sharp. We would have not been around if it wasn't for that guy. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. Because from a belief, I'm just going to explain why I am mega bullish on it. There's going to be some TA. There's going to be some ratio TA. There's going to be some fundamentals. There's going to be some personal beliefs. It's just going to be laid out. Okay. So the first thing is, it was the first protocol built by Jake. And then there was this whole community marketing, or like not marketing, but branding of it, where there was this huge narrative around that Hyper is a Titan X derivative play, but it's essentially a Titan X compounding machine. Now, don't get me wrong. If you believe that, I think you're right personally, but there do have to be a couple things that happen before that, because similar to when Titan X launched. Oh, that's another thing. Hyper is a Titan X. If you don't know this already, a Titan X built on top of Titan X. So rather than Titan X being built on Ethereum, Titan X is now built on itself. That's Hyper. Okay. What happened when Titan X first launched? There was so much FUD. Oh, there's way too much inflation. The buy and burn, blah, 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 blah. But what was the ethos? You build on Titan X, and eventually the supply goes bye-bye via burning. Okay? Hyper's no different, guys. I'm not saying that Hyper alone as a standalone project, especially with animal farms around the corner, is not necessarily going to do well. It's still going to do amazing. It's still going to outperform almost any major. I shouldn't say that. I'm not a financial advisor. It's definitely going to be it's promising. Okay. There's a lot of things that could potentially happen. And there's a reason why this is my second biggest holding. Okay. But anyways, what I wanted to, so yeah, the FUD in Titan X when it first launched, there was so much FUD about the inflation, especially about August 3rd. And what happened August 3rd? Nothing. Actually, the opposite of nothing. We went up. We started our leg up. That was basically a bottom, because there were whales in the system that didn't want other people to get a better price entry than them. Okay. And if that ever happens to Hyper, my gut's just telling me that the similar thing is going to happen. But here's the difference between Titan X and Hyper right now. Hyper is tied with an inflationary asset. So right now it's not performing the way it should be. Not financial advice. It's not performing the way it should be because Titan X is still inflationary until November 28th. Oh, disinflationary, but there's still a massive amount of inflation. Obviously, not a lot compared to what came out before, but in this time frame, there's still a lot of inflation versus the future, right around that December mark, right? So that's going to be one big thing that changes this whole game, and people that slept on it are going to regret when Titan X goes deflationary. Okay, so that's one whole avenue that we could go down. What makes hyper bullish? It's just tied in. It's part of the Titan X ethos. It's tied in with Titan X. Even if the ratio goes to 1-for-1 and Titan X does fucking, I don't know, like let's just put a number out there. If it's 1-to-1, it's 1-to-1. It's still a great ROI. You know what I mean? That's one thing. Number two, when Titan X goes disinflationary, that's cool and all, but Hyper literally has nothing built on it. So again, let's go back to the point that Hyper is Titan X built on top of Titan X. Obviously, Titan X wouldn't be alive if there wasn't protocols and builders building on it. So shout out to you guys because you guys made this possible. Like 100%. Like there's nothing that we could say if it wasn't for the builders and the people that actually like believed and invested their time, their energy, their resources into throwing up a protocol that people might not even potentially want to participate in. Or like I run a like I don't run a crazy business or anything, but I run a business. You know, I get customer feedback. Like I know what it's like when you're putting in work on a side of the business that won't necessarily bring you revenue day one. You know what I mean? It might not even bring you revenue in 2-3 weeks, but you still got to power through. I know that feeling. So shout out to all the builders. You guys made this 100% possible. But that's a big difference between Hyper and Titan X. Titan X purely exists because of the builders. Hyper could exist without builders, but why should it? I don't know if you guys have been following me on Twitter, but for the past month or two, I'm not going to pull up the tweets. I'm not going to be that petty or anything. But if you guys want to read through it, by all means, I've been asking over and over and over and over again, who is building on Hyper? When are we going to have a Dragon X built on Hyper? Who's building on Hyper? I know Helios is definitely, it's not like built on Hyper, but it is utilizing Hyper. It's absorbing it as an asset into its vault, essentially. But there was like not that many protocols that are purely building on Hyper, right? And I know, like, if you follow Jake Sharp like really closely, there were times where he was saying that why should you build on anything other than Titan X? Why you shouldn't build on your protocol versus on Titan X. Everything should be tied into the Titan X in liquidity. But you know what? I don't want to like again. Jake is like a million times way more experienced, more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am. But certain viewpoints change based off facts, right? Dragon X ended up being like an extremely like it basically became like a guardian angel of the Titan X Ethereum coming in, right? So why not build on that? Why not preserve more of that money and keep it in the system than have it go to like Pulse Chain or some shit that guys were selling their stakes for? You know what I mean? I like that. I personally like that. So I think that should be built on and give that more value because it protects Titan X more. Now you're in this game of protection, not necessarily inflow. But here's the thing: Hyper is the inflow of Ethereum into Titan X when miners aren't profitable, right? There are others. Don't get me wrong. Helios uses ETH. A couple others use Ethereum. Don't get me wrong. But what? But yeah, it's the main inflow of Ethereum into the system. Now, one thing that people talk about is when Titan X miners go profitable, right? Is it going to last for that long? Who knows? We don't know what's going to happen on the massive deflation. Like, who knows? Maybe everybody's going to sell off their liquid supply and we're going to have a nice buyback cycle reset. You know what I mean? Strong believers will buy back in, buy the dip, and then we're going to have a whole cycle reset. Who knows? Maybe the end of the cycle is when deflation is at its peak. You know what I mean? Who knows? Nobody knows this. I'm not going to be here fantasizing about that kind of stuff when we haven't experienced it yet. There's a good chance that it won't happen. There's also a good chance that it's going to pump. Who knows? But basically what I'm trying to say is like maybe Titan X isn't necessarily made that the miners have to be profitable. As long as the floor keeps rising, then we have more ceiling to grow without adding more inflation, right? So why was Hydra built on Dragon X? Because now there's a 20% burn. So that means that if there's no Ethereum coming into the system, it's still slowly but surely getting burnt. Hyper is the exact well, that's helping Dragon X supply. Hyper is essentially on the other side of the spectrum where it's Ethereum inflow. Whether Titan X miners are profitable or not, we're going to get Ethereum into the system and reboot us via Vortex, via buy and burn. Like, it's all amazing, okay? But yeah, I've been hearing so much FUD. What's going to happen with all this supply? I've been talking about it for months. When are we going to get something built? Jake just announced it. We are getting something built on top of Hyper very soon. Within a month, hopefully. Fingers crossed. You know what I mean? Titan X Farms is going to be great for Hyper. That's coming out very soon. Second audit's already in. I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to assume that is going to be a lot of things that are going to happen before the 369 payout. X28 potentially. We're going to have this potential new Hyper protocol. We're going to have we already have Hydra. You know what I mean? There's a Volt's coming out, or it's out already. Again, I personally even have trouble following all these protocols. But anyways, guys, Hyper is a Titan X built on top of Titan X. Titan X, when it first came out, got fudded for the inflation because there was nothing built on it. Now Hyper is getting fudded for the inflation because there's nothing built on it. Worst case scenario, the ratio goes down. Who gives a flying? You know what I mean? Who gives a flying if it goes down? It's not financial advice. There is a really strong possibility based off previous data that isn't 100%, that is not advice, that Hyper will outperform Ethereum, which is the asset that you're putting into it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are going to be great times to essentially ratio trade your Hyper. If you basically go on Dex Screener, one thing I want to... Today's just not my day, man. Can somebody comment if there's a hotkey that if you're recording to end your recording on StreamYard? Because I don't know what just happened, but I wasn't going to record this for the 4th time today. I don't know. The recording just stopped. I took a couple-hour break. I'm sorry. I had to get away. I needed some water in me, man. Like, today's just not my day technologically, okay? But let's just basically begin where we left off. And I'm going to make sure I go nice and slow. Share my entire screen. Allow. There we go. I'm presenting. Okay. So I have this beautiful Titan X chart pulled up right here. Boom, boom, boom. We trajecting up. But, okay. Recently, September 14th to be exact. Or was it September 14th? That's 17th. Yeah, 14th. Right here. Where is it? 14th. There we go. I tweeted out. I'm not going to show you the tweet. I'm not going to go through my own tweets. If you don't, I'm not going to be petty like that. If you don't believe me, just go look it up. Fly through my tweets. You're going to see it. I said, send us to 6045. Genuinely thought that was going to happen. But basically, we faked out, hit the top of this channel. Then we did a double top. And then we rounded off, broke this trend line that existed basically from early July 6th to 8th, right around then. So there is a good chance that it's going to happen. And if it does break this line, I'm not an advisor, by the way. I'm just a goofball with charts and lines. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but my TA is like, I like to do it very simple. I get MACD, EMAs, all of that, RSIs. I understand it all. I just like when I like, because oversold, overbought, like Yeah, that is a good indicator if you're a trader, but this is a complete, like, I want to say this is a complete, I don't want to sound delusional, but it is a completely different ecosystem. Don't get me wrong. There are sell then use events. There are such things, 100%. I'm sure there will be a sell then use event before the 369 payout, but this is such a constantly changing system that, like, selling could be by in this terms burning too, participating with in ecosystems. Like, people could sell, you know what I mean, they could sell it here, but then sell it into Ethereum, start a hyper miner, and then like just reinsert it. And it's different. It's not just buying and holding here. It's a whole functioning organism, but again, RSI, I'm sure it does come in handy, but I like to keep it simple. I like to just draw lines. So this trend line got broken. I do see that if this previous, or well, now it's essentially a neckline for this double top. If this does break, we could traject down to 6 euros 45, which is basically like right around the previous resistance. We had a bunch of taps, a little fake out, another touch. It just seems like the play, right? Now, if we go to the hyper chart, it's a little different. We've got a trend line basically starting from the beginning, well, from the basically from the lowest point, that crazy drop in like mid-April, to this point. We had this trend line just going steady, and then I also drew in this upper channel that I didn't have before, so that you see that it's just, this channel has had many points of contact, and it's going up in a very like programmed way. It's programmed, like it's very easy to read. We've got a price floor, price ceiling, price floor, price ceiling. It's just trending up. It's absolutely insane, guys. Okay, so but here's the thing: this trend line could break. Like, again, 2 hours ago, this little green candle is already poking below this trend line, so this could definitely change. Don't get me wrong, especially since it's bonded with Titan X on the short term, it definitely can. But this is the chart that I care most about within this system. It is the Titan X ratio chart, currently at 3.7. So here I drew out a little channel too, because if I were to draw a line, to me, it looks like this line, let me make that straight. To me, it looks like from on the left side of this line, from the lowest point, the ratio was trading upwards. And then somewhere right around this W here, it took a turn in the other direction. Okay. So this trend over here was up until this W. Now we started this channel going this way. Okay. So one thing I wanted to show, this might be a very early pattern if we caught it, is the bottom of this to this line. 101 days, call it 100 days. This channel was going, again, different circumstances. Titan X was way more inflationary, blah, blah, blah. But this is the data that we have. 100 days of this channel going upwards. If we were to do the same ruler, and again, it's probably not going to be 100 days, but it could be in that range. It's not a bad guess. Let's do 100 days from the W, which falls, oh shoot, I lost it. One sec. So 100 days from the W, which would be October 31st, which is absolutely insane because that's a day or two before the 369 payout. So when this turned, that went up. And it's, Vortex is also a 98-day, it's also a 98-day what's it called? It's a 98 day cycle. So it's very close to this 100. It's very close. Obviously, July 23rd wasn't the vortex, but it seems like 100 is like, or 98 between 100, right around that range is definitely a trending number in this cycle, or in this protocol hyper, right? So this is basically October 31st, which is Halloween, right before the 369 payout. But this is crypto. History doesn't often, it repeats, but most often rhymes. Okay. So what would happen if we went like 20% one way or 20% the other? If we went 20% one way and went down to like the 80 mark as an inflection point, that'd be October 12th. And guess what's happening, guys? We are going towards the 369 payout. builders are gonna like well, based off how buying and burning has been going, it seems like it's gonna be definitely creating some sort of FOMO going into the 369 payout. Holders are definitely going to be looking. There's going to be traders and holders looking to take some profits, I'm assuming, because there will be a sell then use event. 100%. It is still crypto, guys. There will for sure be some sort of, not for sure. I can't keep saying for sure, but there will be for sure some sort of commotion going on leading up to the 369 payout. And it's funny because October 12th is October, around under 30 days before the 369 payout. And again, we're expected X28, we're expected Titan X Farms because it's already in its second round of audits. We are expected a lot of things, and we're already trajecting up towards that line. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So yeah, the reason I'm looking at this chart is, and potentially a hyper protocol. I don't know if I just said that, but Jake's been tweeting about it, and it's funny because for months and months I've been like on Twitter. If you guys follow me, I've been asking like, who's going to be launching who's building on hyper. I know Helios has the vault, right? But I've been calling when there's going to be a Dragon X built on hyper, when there's going to be protocols built on hyper, when there's going to be other stuff built on hyper, because I still hold like true to the original marketing effort of hyper, which was a Titan X built on top of Titan X, and Titan X is meant to be built on. So if it's a Titan X built on top of Titan X, hopefully it's going to be built on. It might not need the extent of building, but again, I'm definitely running in circles a little bit now. Might be repeating myself. Sorry, the videos were spaced out. But yeah, no, like this range, this $100 trend, 100-day trend, it could definitely be a play. But anyways, that's on the short term, guys. I want to go over, before I wrap up, some moon math. Right now, the ratio is at 3.7 to 1 Titan X. This is why I'm so bullish on hyper. This is why I'm so bullish, guys. Even if the ratio were to drop off, even go below 1, oh, God forbid, we're tied into an absolutely disinflationary asset, an asset that supply is supposed to be going down in the future, that's programmed to do a 55,000x. So even if it's a 10% ratio, I'm happy in the end, because that's still a 5,000x. That's way better than holding the Ethereum that I put into it. Again, I'm just going over moon math. This doesn't mean that I think it will happen. It doesn't mean that it might not, that it won't happen, but let's say it like holds at this 3.7 mark or goes to 5, and Titan X only does a 10x. What does that mean? 5 to 1, and then the 1 turns to a 10. What happens to the 5? It turns to a 50. This is where the gravy is, guys. If this ratio does manage to go up, and Titan X, which God allow it, after November 28th, who knows? Maybe the whole cycle ends. Maybe our top in our cycle is when we go deflationary. Who knows? Like pure deflationary, no new inflation coming out. That might be our top call. God knows. It could also go up a million X after that point. I don't know. But if Titan X does go up in price and this ratio does maintain, we are living good, guys. We are definitely living good, okay? So I just wanted to leave you off on that. I wish I had the energy that I had in the first half of the video. It's just been a long day at work, and then having to record this so many times. I'm just going to stop sharing. But anyways, guys, it's looking good. I'm still mega bullish. Here, it's 10 o'clock in Europe. It's already day 28. They're a day ahead of us in the Titan X Eco. I don't like that. I wish it was reversed. I would have seen what was happening before them. But no, I'm mega bullish on this protocol, guys. It's, again, first one made by the founder. Fingers crossed. There was this whole thing where why build on protocols built on top of Titan X? If you were around for a while, even Jake said, you shouldn't build on the other protocol. But guess what? Hydra was built on Dragon X. Times change. Things get bigger. I'm not judging those, or I'm not holding him accountable to that. It's just like it's constantly a changing system, I don't even know if I said this before, but yeah, Hydra was built on Dragon X because Dragon X is like a guardian. Hyper was built on Titan X so that it's a guardian of the Ethereum, whereas now Hyper is the new inflow. So even if Titan X never, even if the prices are never profitable in the sense of mining, if mining never becomes profitable again, guess what? The ceiling's still going up, and we have an inflow of Titan X, and then we have a protector if and ever any Ethereum came in, and just in case no Ethereum ever goes out, Hydra's still burning. Dragon X 20% right off, 20%. So, cheers, guys. Long one. I'm going to make this compilation now. Going to be editing for a bit, but we'll see you soon.